Hello, people. Very nice to see you in this number after the lunch. That means you are not asleep yet, but maybe you will be if we do not do something now. How many of you have cat as a pet? Please raise your hand. Cat as a pet. Okay. What, only? 4 or 5, please. Come. Come, at least few of you. Then you will have a special group here. Then how many of you has a dog as a pet? Nobody, because you are afraid, is it? Please, form a second group. I know that there are more of you. It will not be painful. It will be only shameful. Please. You have a dog. At least somebody else have a dog. I have a dog too. I will make company. Never mind. Come here. Then you know. Then you will know the answer. Yeah, we are waiting for you. And the third group is how many of you would like to have a hedgehog as a pet? Do you know what a hedgehog is? If you watch Sonic movie, yes, it's Yej for those because it's a tricky word. How many of you would like to have a hedgehog as a pet or think hedgehog is cute? Come here. Please, one more, at least. One more. We will need at least 2. Who is brave enough? Come on here. Okay, please give us the microphone. Please. Is it working? Okay, great. Please, take it. As a group, you will need to tell us how does your cat sound when it's angry. Okay, come on, all together. All together. Come on. Great. Thank you very much. You are very brave. Please, you can return. Now, can you tell me how...
We love giraffes.
Yeah, how does your dog sound when it's hungry? Uh-huh. Okay, good enough. I don't know, it's your dog, you know the best. Thank you very much. And now, for the most bravest, now you will tell us how does hedgehog sounds. What do you think? Take the moment. If somebody wants, he or she can help them because it's very tricky. Huh? What do you think?
You asked the tricky question.
Yes, of course.
But you know the answer.
No, I don't know. That is the question. I want to learn from you. But I want one more thing. And come on. Oh, great. You are super brave. And I believe a little bit ashamed of this. Is it?
Yes.
Great. If not, even better, you know. Because it's totally normal to be a little bit ashamed if you want to be productive, is it? So today we will speak about how to unlock value generator, and you do not have a clue about what we will speak. My name is Bojan, and I'm very glad that you are here and that at least some of you are brave. I will need to pick your brain a little bit, you know, because we will need some answers. First one, Slido. You have here a QR code, you have ID if you want. I need your job role. Of course, if you cannot formulate it, be creative, but important is that if there is a PO, try to be a PO, not P/O, POs. Product/owner or something. You know, just maybe to group something. And I will need one person with a great memory. Who has a good memory? What's
a good memory?
At least to remember first 3 biggest positions. To be objective, because maybe I will cheat.
Maybe we'll take a photo.
You can take photo. If you want, you can take photo and then remind me. Will you take it on you?
Okay.
Cool. Yeah.
Tell me when. Because it's still counting.
Yeah, it's still counting. So just remember what are three biggest letters, and that will be the answers when I ask you. I believe we have enough time. You will be the judge. What are the biggest? I will not. Yeah, if you say so, I believe you. I want to be totally impartial into this. And then the second question on the same Slido, what is the biggest problem on the job you are currently facing? I just put something in a context, of course, please do not copy. Oh, much reporting and burnout, prioritization of work, boring stakeholders. No, they're just boring stakeholders, or they're different words, okay? Predictability or lack of predictability, whatever. New problems emerging every day. So can you take another picture to be impartial? Yeah. Now you are the most important person in this workshop, you know. Congratulations. Lack of predictability, burnout, and I will ask you to choose the, let's say, third, whatever you think it is. Okay, very nice from you. And I will tell you a little bit story what happened to me. You know, I like dogs, and I have a dog. And I enjoy walking late in the night with my dog. My dog enjoys even more than me. And I was walking through the quay on Danube River, very close to Madlenianum here. So if you are coming here from different parts of country or from other countries, go there, walk. And one lost soul approached me. And he said, can you help me? Oh my God. What he will ask me. I said, okay, let's tell me what is bothering you. And he said, please, one of those three biggest problems. What are those? Can you tell me? Burnout on the job, okay. Lack of predictability. And the third?
I don't have a
Productivity, let's call it, whatever you think it is. Okay, and I said, my God, in this case, you must be. Now tell me the job roles. Okay, so a lot of you are here some form of delivery manager, Scrum Master, etc. But by quite coincidence, that person was, you know. And I said, nice that you have asked me. Who knows what can happen in the middle of the night? But I'm not so clever to answer you this, you know. But the good thing is, I will go to Agile conference a few days later, and there will be a lot of clever people there. And maybe I can pick their brains and let them suffer a little bit in helping me to answer how I can help you by how all we can help him, you know. And let's try to do this little experiment today. We will use one form of storytelling. I believe you guessed already. Who is from all of you fan of Lord of the Rings? Cool. And Matrix? Okay, I will ask one fan of Matrix to come together with me. Who wasn't here? Come on, it will not be a shame. It will be a storytelling. Come on. Huh? Come on, great, great. We have brave people here. Come on, give him applause. Great. You remember the movie, I believe, because you said that you're a fan.
A little bit.
A little bit, okay. So, first thing, what is Neo doing?
Saving the world.
Okay, but before everything, in the beginning of the morning. So he's living in an ordinary world,
Yes.
is it? Then what happens next?
White rabbit approaches, something
Yeah.
tells him to follow through.
Yeah.
Follow
So
Neo.
we can, if you turn and
Yes,
see.
something calls Neo for an adventure.
Something calls the Neo for adventure, but great, you remember it. Then what he did he jump immediately into this or not?
No, Morpheus had to convince him.
Yeah, so he refused it, come back, and then he meets the mentor.
Yes,
Morpheus is, I believe, mentor. What do you say? Do you agree with this? Hmm?
I do.
I know that you do. You are a Matrix fan. Me too. That is why you choose this, is it? Not Lord of the Rings, but for those who choose Lord of the Rings, I believe that you can make parallels, or Spider-Man, or something else.
Star Wars.
Harry Potter, Star Wars, exactly. And maybe all the other Hollywood movies and maybe all the other stories ever written, you know. So he take which pill?
The red pill.
Red pill. And he crossed the threshold into some different world.
Yes. Into the true world.
Into the true, but from his perspective, from the accountant, it is a magic world.
Yes.
That is the twist. Then, of course, there are some challenges, trials, tribulations, ordeals. Is it everything happen? And at the end, what happens?
The reward.
What is the reward?
Well, at the very end, they defeat the machine.
It is not working, or?
No, it's not.
Ah, okay, good. They defeat machine, and did he return back to his natural?
No, he died.
He died, yeah. That is a little bit different than this, is it?
That's
But
what makes it fun.
yeah, that is. But in essence, you can say that first he comes back to world, then resurrection, definitely, is it? Maybe not in this movie, but in the others. And he has some elixir or some supernatural power.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your and for being brave. And this microphone is not working, obviously. So we will apply a little this similar story in, of course, a much easier shape. I don't want to go through such a big number of things. And you guessed correctly, and congratulations, Star Wars. Well, maybe a little bit of dragons there, because dragons are very fancy today. So I put this drawing to daughter, and she drew it like I explained. So you can imagine how bad I'm at explaining things, what I have, because she drew perfectly. Our person who is asking me question in the middle of the night is, let's say, unknown hero. Of course, he looks pretty much like a Skywalker guy. Here, who can be mentor? Of course. When I say mentor, I believe all of you agree it's Yoda. Today, no, you are the mentor. I will ask you for your question. And there is some challenge, impediment. Let's say Scrum Masters are tackling impediments, or dragons, of course. If you were Scrum Master in era of ice and fire, etc., probably your biggest impediment would be how to kill a dragon. But at least these are those impediments. Burnout, remind me. Remind
Like predictability and productivity.
productivity, lack of predictability, and burnout as the most terrible thing. And if you manage to tackle, or let's say to slay the dragon, and one question which is pretty important to me is, I would like to hear an answer from you. Why all the dragons are bad?
Because they're unknown. Because they are unknown.
Unknown, oh, great, great. Scary and unknown, so pretty, when we turn off the light, maybe we scare a little bit, because who knows what is there, is it? Great, and what can be the treasure chest, holy grail, or whatever? What do you think?
Solution to our problem.
Solution to our problem, satisfaction, of course, of being over the top of the issue, or who knows everything. From the burnout, let's say we will put the fire out, is it? Will not quit, maybe, is it? For the lack of predictability would be, I would say, predictability. But would it be boring if we have so much predictability in our work? Maybe. But it will be another part of the problem, isn't it? So let's first go step by step. And then I want to ask you for a help to this man. What would be, let's say, help if we have only those 5 questions? Shorten feedback cycle, reduce cognitive load, foster teamwork experiment, or 50 is very tricky, you know. You know the answer, and it's definitely not the 4 of those. But if you answer this 5th, I will expect that you tell us what is that answer, you know. So, of course, use it. I will give you a little time to think about this, because it's pretty tricky, you know. You need to be very fast and to decide how you will help this person. But foster teamwork experiment, reduce cognitive load, shorten feedback cycle. So most of you are still going on the teamwork, is it? And then experiments, shorten feedback cycle, and maybe cognitive load can help us. But I have few people here who know the answer, which is great. Can I just see you to congratulate you? Okay. We will save space for the end for your wisdom, definitely, if you do not run away. Of course, that is always option, you know. But don't worry. I believe that our brave colleagues who simulated how Hedgehog is sounding already show us that little shame is okay for today. So don't worry about it. So I expect that you remind me, because I'm pretty old, pretty stupid, and maybe I will get it wrong. But first, it will be foster teamwork, and then experiment. So let's see about this foster teamwork. We have team. Of course, here they are pulling some ropes. And what are they doing? They are building something, is it? Working, I believe most of you are in a Scrum, some other Agile framework already, maybe in a waterfall, but teams are very important for you. And why are they existing? What is their purpose? Feel free to tell me, of course. At least your team. Why is your team existing? To deliver something, is it? To achieve their goal. Okay, I will make a comparison. Kids on the block, let's say, boys and girls. I will talk about boys because I didn't play, I don't know how you call it, those women games, but you can have totally parallel with this. If they want to have fun, let's say, which is totally okay from the even Agile way of work to have a fun and to achieve something, they can self-organize themselves and play football, is it? They can do this in how many minutes, usually? Do you remember when you have a ball, how much minutes does it take you to form a team and to start playing a game? Around 5, is it? So 5 minutes from 0 to team. You have a goal. You self-formed team. You self-organized, meaning who will be in front, who will be in the middle of the field, who will be the most unpopular goalkeeper. Then you self-manage yourself when you are playing. You toss out of the game somebody, you put somebody else, maybe you have a fight, but it's management, is it? In the form of the kids. And they have clear goal, what is the fulfillment of the team to score a goal. And I'm asking you now, if the kids can do this in 5 minutes, why then in corporations when we are working, they said, no, you cannot choose your team. Your team is this, because we put you there. No, you cannot do this position, because we will tell you what you are. And if we need organization, then we can say, okay, we will let you self-organized unless some production bug comes, and then some high manager will jump in and say, this is the utmost priority, and you will have a quarrel, maybe if you are Scrum Master, or you will just do this if you are working in a Kanban. But essentially, you will not be so happy in this manner. So what is that missing link, what we forget, you know? Where is the power in a team to do stuff in order to be successful? Who took it away? Grown-ups. And what do you think, what is the chance that grown-ups were never picked into a team during the football game? Huh? Yeah, you see, that is the revenge. But I'm just asking, does it sound too perfect, too idealistic to have a team like this, at least? Because I remember when I was a kid, okay, you play, you have fun, and you achieve something. Of course, it was not super business objective, but at least we did it. Today, in a modern business, one thing is very important, if at least you're working in this environment, and this is that Japanese strawberry cake. This is by intention Japanese, because you can taste it in Toyota, and you are making whole cake slice by slice. As probably a lot of you remember. In order to have everything delivered to fulfill its nature. Like kids, you know, they are understanding this. They understanding that they need to pass a ball, which, let's call it, is some product from the beginning of the field to the goal. And they are doing it like in a Kanban or something else. They are visualizing the flow, really, and they are pushing it. And in order to do this, it is same like database engineers are doing something, backend, front-end, QA, UX, put it here, everything, they practically know how to do this. And you learn this in some special courses. You learn this, you know, and get certificates and everything else, but you already did it 1,000 times when you were a kid, you know. And why is that important for a team to be the owner of their deliverance?
They're closest to the client, closest to the market. They are value stream generated, right? They're droplets in that river.
Great. Droplets in the river. And let's be honest, when you see, probably most of you are IT persons, when you see your application that is used somewhere, does it make you proud a little bit? Is it? And does this make you pretty bad when you receive some 2-star feedback on iOS or Android store, is it? Yeah, definitely. So you are tied to your work, and you want to have some form of acknowledgement. It's not related to the money, even to your colleagues in a team. It is related to the self-actualization. But because world is a complex place, we need to form a team in order to achieve something. And that is the second problem if we say foster a teamwork. How many layers today is here in your cake? Can you count them? And show 5, 4, 3, 10. Can you tell me how many layers of the work you have different? Around 5. But at least, let's say, 4 to more, is it? So at least you have 4 specialties, and at least you have 4 very expensive, long-standing persons who develop their careers and doing a great stuff in order to do something. I can tell you that in the teams I'm usually working, that number tends to be 10, usually. Let's go. You always have some business person, and according to principle of agility, keep business person in a team, is it? So somebody needs to be there, definitely. You have a PO, usually, which is not just connection to the representative of the business, but is somebody who is writing tickets in famous Jira software. You have user research. You have user experience. You have user interface. Hopefully, if you have one multi-purpose person, then you have it in one, but it can happen that you have 3 persons. Then you have some DevOps, and maybe you have even a database admin, data research analyst, data research engineer, back-end developer, front-end developer, quality assurance tester, quality assurance automation engineer, and above all, few of managers to look at them all, and one Scrum Master to do whatever Scrum Master is doing, is it? Let's not go down that rabbit hole. You know, and does this sound similar to your job? What I now, very much, yeah. And when you say, let's say it was about 10 people, and when you add a bus effect or train effect or whatever you call it, if somebody is going on a sick leave or something else, you got about a necessity of 15 to 20 people in a team. And do not want to mention those projects of Google where they discover what is the ideal size of a team, which is 4.6 people. Is it? Of course, I hope that they didn't split that one into half, but generally, let's call it like 5. So if you have 5, it's terrific, cool. But usually, in order to deliver something in today's world, you have a big, big chunk of work. So what would you say to that person, how you can foster teamwork in this environment? If you want to give him advice, because you choose it as the most important one. Great, cool.
In order to establish it,
Cool. Trust and respect, cool.
as a startup.
Yeah, of course. And would you say, let's treat members of a team as a kids? Meaning, we believe that you can self-organize, send forms, self-manage, etc. Would you advise this, or you would like to say, no, I will tell you what to do? First option, okay, cool. Very nice. And thank you. Of course, usually this is the picture from famous movie 1984. It's called 2 Minutes of Hate, you know. And I would very like to send hate of 2 minutes to everybody who is not allowing us to do, you know. Like, or whatever, you know. Like they are shouting to some imaginary enemy. Well, in teamwork, really, we have in our organizational nature some inherent enemy, I believe. But, as you said, you already provided some answers, so let's give that our lost Skywalker, Anakin, Saul, your answers. And maybe he will be satisfied. Then, what was the second? Do you remember? Experiment. Oh, great. It cannot fail, you know. So, how many experiments did you do during last week? Can you tell me?
5.
Congratulations.
We had workshop.
You had a workshop because of that. Okay, but the whole workshop maybe was one experiment.
No, we had 5 teams.
Uh-huh.
Each of them
Cool. Cool.
then the best experiment.
Cool. Very nice. Others, is there anybody who didn't do any experiment? Great. And are you working in agile way of work or? Okay, cool. Never mind. There is always a break from experiments. I can tell you a little bit story, which is one story which can decide whether you should do experiment or not, you know. And it's about Tesla and Edison, you know. So Edison was practically doing agile way even 100 years ago. And our famous Tesla wasn't. He was doing waterfall, you know. And Tesla was much successful than Edison in this. But because of one thing, Tesla exactly knew that what he envisioned in his mind will work in reality, you know. So if you are such a clever person, do not do experiments. Do not do agile at all. Just go with solution you selected and make it. And it will be the best one in the world. But if you are on the other side, like Edison, and you are working in a team and you need to work through multiple iterations, then of course it's best to do experiment, one after another. And how we do experiment? We first observe to see whether we should do experiment or not. Is there some signal, some light, some prodigy which will guide us to this experiment? We research it and then we make a hypothesis. Hypothesis is a supposition, you know. For those of you who are product owners, practically this part here about research to hypothesis is very important because that determines how much experiments is necessary to do. If you put your threshold too low, that means that you will do a lot of experiments and of course, a lot of them will be failures. But what will you learn? You know, when you were in a school, let's go back to this. You learned about math. 1 + 1 is equal to 2, exactly. And what was the teacher explanation? Why it is like this?
Right way to do it.
It's an axiom. Great. You never question it. You learn it first lesson in math, and that is. Then, in particles, of course, I am pretty, I believe, older than most of you, but in schools it was the smallest particle is, of course, not atom, but there are some subatomic particles like neutrons, electrons, is it? And then they found even smaller inside them, and then they question everything, and now there are some, is it hypotheses about string theories and about something else, So practically, humanity is gaining knowledge by, let's call it, going higher with this bar, meaning going lower into more details into this. And this is the only area where really humanity's collective knowledge is advancing when we move that bar. But let's concentrate on our companies in which we are working. You have some supposition. Let's say you want to build a restaurant. Very easy thing to do. And how you will decide where to put it? Because it's close to your home, you see it there, or you sleep and there is in your dream some super opportunity to be full and to be very profitable. Usually people like do those stuff, you know. They just think that they're right. And usually 90% of restaurants bankrupt in 1 year. You know. It is not so different from products and features in a product, really. What is only important is for you to manage what you will use your resources to test, because you cannot test everything. If you start testing 1 + 1, that is 2, and then maybe somebody will be clever and test 2 + 2 is 4. What you will do then? Nothing, generally, is it? But you can test very important and very risky things in your, let's say, product development. And for this, you will need to test it with some kind of experiment. When you were shouting cats, dogs, etc., it was a little bit experiment, is it? Of course, everything is on the camera, so that video will be distributed everywhere, you know, just for you to know. But essentially, it was a safe place. You cannot do anything wrong. That is what you need to do exactly with experiment, and then to analyze something, learn, and do again if necessary, you know. So that is the practically simplest way how you can do this, and it's called scientific method. And maybe one of the biggest discoveries of humanity at all, at least by my vision, and it can help you, but a lot of you are not using this, you know. A lot of you are convinced that you are right. Me too, of course. Definitely, you know. I'm cleverest. And I exactly know what should be, unless it is proven that I do not have a clue, you know. Because business is requiring us to give problems or solutions. What do you say on your job? What do you need to tell somebody, you know? We have a problem or I have a solution. Solution. And in this way, what are you coming with? Huh? For every of your solution, I will create a problem which I will test. Of course, it's not popular. Maybe we can suggest this to our little lost soul. And what was the third? Short-term feedback cycle? Ah, okay. So this is the terrific picture, you know. It was even in the title of this speech. So if you wouldn't choose it, then I would speak something else, you know. So this is good, because I will not speak about the fourth thing. That is what I promise you. And this is how one, let's say, creative process look like. You have part of discovery, and those experiments can be one tool to use in this process. Usually in this part here, let's call it on the left side, you are employing some design thinking, sprints for design thinking, portfolio management, some other tools, like buy a feature, ask somebody, product owner can manage it until you come to this position in the middle. Of course, everything converges there. And then you have that famous definition of ready. What does definition of ready mean? And are you using it? Can somebody tell me? Do you know what it is? Hmm? Yeah, please.
Yeah, we use it. It's a set of rules
Mm-hmm.
the team agrees on.
Mm-hmm.
When we decide that some ticket or story
Mm-hmm.
is ready. So we
It's
decide
ready.
what we will do
Exactly.
and accept.
Cool. Great. Stay with me. So you have it in some product backlog, is it? Or wherever it is. And then you refine it, estimate it, whatever. And then you said, okay, enough. It is now ready to be what? In a sprint, great. So now our developers can work on it, is it? And that is a set of rules, okay? One thing is, have you ever read one 10-pager or something more, which is called Scrum Guide? And where the definition of ready is exactly written? In these words, nowhere, but of course nobody is making you to use Scrum as a framework. You can use some other framework, Kanban or whatever is it, whatever. But there is a little bit just mentioning somewhere, and it's only one thing, which is saying definition of ready, I will paraphrase of course, is when something can be done in a one sprint. Meaning from this point, you can push it into execution and deliver it at the end of that sprint. Practically every single story or task which enters in your iteration cycle should be done in that cycle. I believe that is pretty much clear to all of you. How much of you are succeeding in this commitment? I don't see any single hand, is it? Why? Because you are bad people and you like to lie to your managers, to your product owners? No, I believe you're not, is it? Definitely. But at least we have some delivery framework here. And when you look at this, here on the left side we have some idea, great idea. We do something, then push it into execution, and deliver it in the end. That phase is usually lasting much more than one sprint, to be honest. If it is different in your companies or your teams or wherever, then you are pretty nice working with this. And this is called lead time. Time from envisioning something to the time where our end user, customer, or whoever it is important to us can use that feature. In the essence, if you are making chocolate, so because this conference is Agile and beyond, imagine that you have idea to make the best chocolate in the world. It is here. And then you see the first person who is eating your chocolate, hopefully staying alive, here at the end, and that is that time. Usually, of course, it is much longer than what you would want to be, especially because of that cycle. So how you can shorten this? One thing is to kill definition of ready. But what would developers in your team say then? Would they object to this?
Nothing is a gatekeeper for bad stories.
Bad stories. Bad by what? What definition? What is the bad story definition of? Ambiguous, unclear, etc. Yeah, exactly. So practically, what are we doing? This is some kind of gate which determines what is fixed, and in this phase, we are practically just delivering something which is set in stone. If we look like this, let's say, maybe it's too rush to say like this, but usually it is, because how many of your stories are failures? How many of them are discarded by PO before going to production when they are ended here if you employ this process? I believe it's a pretty low number, you know. And it's always followed by a quarrel, retrospective, or something else. Why did we miss it? And that was that, I believe, predictability. Is it? That was, if I'm not wrong, one of those things. You wanted predictability, is it? And this is one thing that usually people who are managing something would like to have, you know. Give me a roadmap until the end of the year. I want to have predictability, to promise our managers, customers to do budgeting, to do everything else based on this. And where is Agile in this predictability? Where is chance that our experiment can fail? Because if we have experiments and all of them are successful, does it sound fake to you? Is it? Yeah, it is. Like I'm using this speak to you. I'm experimenting a little bit because you are the owner of this. You told me what is interest to you. If you would say something else, and I prepared already some topics, it will be total failure, but what to do? At least we have each other, and then we can brainstorm a little bit what is more important. But it would be a failed experiment, is it? And so what if it is? Fail and rise and start again. So that is the issue. Why? To make everything with the best quality possible, because quality is in today's world imperative. Important thing in this is to shorten it in such a way that it can be done in one cycle. Do not wait for a one story to be written, then to go through who knows how many councils, boards, trials of the POs and whatever, and then in this area to be pushed to the deliverance. Try to compress it. How you will do this? Well, that's up to you. You can use a little bit of those aids, but in this case, you will need to have a team which can complete the whole experiment in one iteration. That is the essence, you know. And that means that the team is willing to do experiments, that developers are willing to know how their project is run, how product is working. Then the business people want to be included in the design as well as UX. Then product owner know how to use his product. And of course, if you have some Scrum Master, but I see that a lot of you are here, as Scrum Masters to be willing to work relentlessly on this, you know. That is the issue if you want. Just compress it and treat it as experiment. And when you deliver your first story, will it be perfect? No. Yes, for you, of course, it will be your child. Every single child is perfect. But your story will not be perfect.
It probably took too long.
Yeah. But what will 100% happen when you show this user story to somebody else? Will you be ashamed a little bit of it?
If we are not, it took too long.
Yeah, but why not? Why not if you show it and it's terrible? And somebody told you it's terrible. This is great feedback, you know, because you just spent 7 days or 10 days of your time in delivering this story, and somebody is telling you it's nonsense, not to use some other word, is it? In this way, you will know that it is nonsense here, but you will spend usually 3-4 months until it comes to this, you know. And you know best how many of your really features and everything else is really needed, really used. It is just, you know, some force or power of somebody who can put it on a roadmap, on a plan, and then simulate in one form of Gantogram that his or your team is working in a little sprints, you know. But essentially, you are using your sprints for a control framework there. This is even worse, you know. You are not using sprints as a tool for deliverance of some value, but you are using it as a control mechanism for people because you want to control them that they are working in little chunks. They do not have, you know, free time, that they are just sprinting every 5, every 10 days. You see, are they building something? Are they progressing, you know? You are on their neck. Does this sound cool to you? No. And does that happen real life, or I'm just imagining it? Yeah, okay, so break cycle. That is essentially what I want to tell you. How? Well, that I do not know, but maybe you know. And practically the last thing is this one. You know it. Who knows it? Who can say some other thing? We saw a few answers there. Who is willing to share at least with us? Do we have a brave man?
I want to say all of the above. I do everything.
Yeah, that was, I know, but it's not any of those 4. That was the answer I believe I saw with few people. But now nobody is.
What was the question?
The question was, I know what the answer is to the problem of that person, but it's not any of those 4. meaning it's something different than those which we talked about, which is totally legit, is it? Do you have any answer which you can tell our friend? Yeah, please. Do you want a mic or you want to shout?
No, if-
Shout.
Yeah, I can. So from my experience, which is quite modest, it's, what's the word? Educate, teach, coach, train the management,
The management.
Yes.
Great.
leadership.
So leadership is the problem.
From my experience,
Yeah.
I would say the ignorance and the not understanding of the things, one size fits all and everything.
Yeah, cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
Very nice. Thank you for sharing this. And I totally agree with you. I would just say train, coach, whatever there is need to be done with everybody,
Yeah, and extensively.
Extensively with everybody, of course.
If they fail, they should try again.
Yeah, of course. Not only leadership. Why should they take benefit of coaching, of training only? It's much better for all of us to have if we are not so fortunate to be leaders. But I totally agree with you. Yeah. Others, do you have any other thought? No? Okay, I really hope that when I see that our little friend, I can tell him, that from your side, Take a big bag of money and invest in coaching and training, I really like, especially being agile coach. That means pretty nice career, So that is great. That is great. That is another thing, that burnout. Yeah, but it was not in the first three answers, so we didn't talk about it. Yeah, but why not? And maybe you will be more happy in the essence, and even make more money. Who knows? So now it's a time for question and answers if you have any. Or, let's see. Oh, we have one. What is your experience with testing as value generator? George, just to be sure what you are asking me is, you are asking me what is the shortening feedback cycle?
Yeah.
That is, yeah.
I want to swing the topic a bit to that.
Yeah, great.
How you see that as a value generator, not as a, because through
Yeah.
past period I've been in that shift,
Mhm.
mindset, not to be actually a gatekeeper,
Mm-hmm.
not to slow down delivery,
Great.
but actually to be the enabler
Great.
and to promote like enabling culture
Yeah, and
of testing
super.
and QA.
Super.
What's your experience with that as a value generation? Is that the topic?
Yeah, it depends, of the industry in which you are working. If you're exactly speaking about testing, at least, you can be, pretty indifferent to testing if you have users and your business can survive letting your user test your product a little bit. You can shift that to them. But if you are working in a medical industry, etc., in this area, of course, you need to have much more different approach, meaning nothing can fail, is it? Exactly. Let's call it 6 Sigma, 7 Sigma. You remember that we need to monitor our processes to have few defects in 1 million or 1 billion, depending, are we making rockets to the moon or some medical equipment. But generally, one thing is, you can always start with some mock-ups, with trials, and not suppose that highest paid person, some manager, is the right one. That is connected with your proposal. Let's coach them. Let's say, are you so clever that you can envision roadmap in this 2023 at the end of the year 2023? and to spend your time in building this, and then even promise to somebody this with confidence. While, let's say, none of the politicians, none of bankers, none of anybody can really say what will happen in 3 months. But you want in a company to have 1 year visibility and predictability in advance. Is it maybe too much to ask? You can ask yourself, you know. In this way, just put it and just play with it a little bit and fail, of course. Why not? But fail in safe conditions. That is the most essence, you know. If you are making pacemaker, test it relentlessly before it goes in the person, of course. But before that, you can do a lot of stuff without this, you know, and that's essentially. Not to mention monkeys and how they do it, you know, essentially. This is out of topic. Okay, thank you very much on this. You were very nice. And